Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Colin here and John Lynn over there. How you doing, John?
Pretty good, learning this new normal.
I think it's a continuous education that we're all getting, uh, especially this week as we get into like the third or fourth week, depending on where you are of this lockdown.
Yep, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, I work from home anyway, so in that respect, it's normal. But the kids not having the same things to do, not being able to get out, definitely makes it more challenging.
Definitely so. Definitely so. Hey, listen, let's welcome everybody to the second HITMC call-in meetup. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We know all of you are very busy and have kids and other things to take care of, so we really appreciate your time. So for those that are maybe new this week, the way this is going to work, it's pretty much like a call-in radio show. And what we're going to do is have our producer, Brittany Quemby, who's listening in to the conversation. She will pick a few folks at random from the participants. So if you want to be on the air, just raise your hand and Brittany will try to get to as many of you as possible. We'll bring you on the air and we'll have a little discussion, share some knowledge, toss around a few ideas, and then we'll rotate through. So we'll try to, like I said, we'll try to get as many people as possible onto the show this week. The topic this week is that we're going to be talking about advertising, emails, and things during this COVID-19 crisis, and which ones stood out to you, whether for a good reason or for a bad reason. And so we're going to try maybe to get a couple screenshots or things of people, but even if you just describe it, that would be great. And just tell us why you thought it was good or why you thought it was bad. And we're just going to share some ideas that way. So that's the topic for today. I'm excited for this, John.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And just a couple other logistics. Obviously, in your panel, you can raise your hand virtually. That's how she'll select you. And also there is two sections. There's a question section and a chat section. So, we'll try to keep an eye on both, but it's probably best if you use the chat because then you can have a chat amongst all the other attendees that are there as well and share it that way. So feel free to chat it up in the chat room and enjoy interactions with the others in the community. But the goal is to get as many of you on here as possible, have some good discussion, some engagement sharing, and knowledge sharing and learning.
All right. Yeah. So, as we haven't seen anyone raise their hand yet, but maybe it'll happen. But I know, John, that I wrote an article this week on HITMC that kind of singled out an ad that I had come across, or it really was a social post. And I called it out only because I thought it was a little bit not as whimsical as the company wanted it to be, and was really kind of pointing out the fact that it was making a tie between the stimulus check and starting a practice. So I think the lesson that I took, or the lesson I was hoping that people took away from that was there's one thing to be said to be timely and try to get something out there. It's another to try to think things through from your target audience perspective and see how it will be perceived. And I think that latter step was skipped by this group, and they just put an ad out there that had so many things wrong with it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stood out for me was that they used a famous person. I think it was Drake, right? That is
Yeah.
like, really? Why would you do that? Plus, they even tied it to a stimulus check, which doctors likely don't qualify for stimulus checks because they make too much money. Anyway, it was just like so poor design, misunderstanding of the market, misunderstanding of it. So I mean, you highlighted it really well. You can check out the article on hitmic.com and the ad if you want to check out and see what it looks like. But I liked your revision though, right? Because your revision was actually use the meme with Drake in it, but you added some cat pictures on top of it to use the meme without using the copyrighted brand name of Drake. So I thought that was a good twist, and then also obviously fix some of the other things as well.
I wish I could lay claim to that cat meme. That was another meme that went around that other people had created with different cats. So I just picked one of those at random because those ones aren't copyrighted aren't of someone famous who's likely to sue you. So I don't think the owner of that cat is going to have as deep pockets as Drake does. But yeah, it was just really more of an example of, look, good intent, not a bad offer actually, but just the execution of it, just kind of came off a little wrong, I think, for the times. It wasn't that sensitive. So Brittany, who we got first coming on? We've got some people who raised their hands. Who's coming on?
Yes, we have a few people. So first I'm going to bring on Brian Mack. So he's coming your way. And do we want to bring someone else on too? Do we want to have two people on?
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. Two.
And then we have Sharam coming on as well.
Okay, good. All right, so
And I should apologize. I guess the chat, Colin, is only for organizers. So I hop on Twitter, use the hashtag HITMC, and you guys can interact there as well. And we will watch the questions if you have something you want us to try to bring up.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see your smiling face.
That's, well, you know, keep passing those open windows, you know what I mean? It is.
That's because he was finally let out of his room after a 2-week quarantine.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. It's all relative. I'm feeling all kinds of freedom now that I have the run of the house again.
And just for the audience that is listening, Brian, where are you coming to us from?
I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's actually warming up here in the frosty. I'm no one to talk. I mean, you live further north than I do, Colin, but it's been a nice week weather-wise.
That's good. That's good. And Sharam, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us today. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Yep.
Great meeting you both. And Brian, nice meeting you online as well. That's, I think, the new reality. Most meetings are two-dimensional. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Sharam Yousefi. I'm talking to you from San Francisco. I'm CEO, founder of a company called Mesh AI and staff scheduling for healthcare.
Nice. Nice. Well, welcome to the program. Welcome to Brian, you know, just what organization are you with?
Sure, I am actually, well, I have been with, people know me best as the marketing manager for Great Lakes Health Connect here in Michigan. We're in the process of integrating with the State Health Information Network, which is called the Michigan Health Information Network, or the MyHIN Group, and we are now a wholly owned subsidiary. So I'm in the midst of transition, moving from being the marketing manager to senior marketing strategist for a much larger company.
Nice. Nice. Well, this is a time of
working
change.
in the health information exchange space.
I was going to say, this is a time of change, so this is good, right? Might as well kind of do everything.
It is good. It's a yeah, good thing for the state, good thing for both organizations. It's and good thing for the people that we serve too. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it.
Awesome. So I'm going to hit you up first, Brian. Like, so what ad or what emails has stood out for you that you've seen come across your desk in the last little bit?
So the biggest, I mean, my junk email or spam email is my biggest pet peeve anyway, and that has only been ratcheted up in the last few weeks.
Really? Okay.
I mean, now so I get these same. I'm getting many of the same unsolicited sales emails from folks wanting to sell me things. But now suddenly, whatever their solution was, whatever that magic fix was pre 6 weeks ago, is now magically the magic fix for addressing whatever our COVID-19 challenge happens to be, which just makes me insane. It's just like, okay, could you pander just a little bit more? And could we have just a little bit of sensitivity to the folks who are, you know, actually struggling? This is not the time to be creating marketing gimmicks around this just brutal tragedy. So that's sort of on the negative side. On the positive side, and I wish that I could remember the consumer brand that did this, but if you follow some of the MyHIN social media brands, it might start to look familiar because we as a team liked it so much, is that they've actually taken their logos, and these were consumer brands, but they've taken their logos and they've actually cut them in half and then separated them. Yeah. And they've talked about but you know, about the importance of distancing. And I just thought, wow, that's really, really clever. And so you know, what's the old adage is that there's nothing new in marketing, that we just recycle, right? And imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and you might see some imitation coming from the Mayan group along those lines.
No, that's great. I love those ads. Yeah, the example I saw was Audi that pulled apart their 4 rings into 4 separate ones and was talking about distancing. And I've heard about others who have done similar things, which is really cool because normally those logos are sacrosanct, right? You don't do anything with them. But
Right.
But given that you can't have actors, I guess you have to go with info. You have to go with motion graphics. So
Yeah.
you do those things. That's awesome. That's good. Those are good ones. And I agree with you with the
Yeah.
whole thing about spam. Like, yeah, magically a garbage bag is suddenly a COVID prevention tool, right? Like, really,
Right.
like that's a little bit of a stretch, but
Right.
that's
Right.
what it kind of seems like sometimes. Good one.
Right. How
Sharon,
is
what do
it
you?
like suddenly
Yeah,
this marketing automation tool is going to make my life that much easier because of COVID-19?
yeah, exactly. Your COVID's going to be solved with this CRM solution. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
All right, Sharon, what have you got? What examples have you got for us in terms of good and or bad or both?
I don't have any specific example. Maybe I'm the lucky one. I haven't been targeted by some of the tastelessly designed campaigns. But I think I see the dichotomy. There are really a group of businesses that come out and genuinely can help and are trying to help. And of course, there's an opportunity to grow your brand. And when the dust settles, come out stronger and grow faster. I think every challenge is an opportunity. So kudos to them if they're really, really trying to help. But then, yeah, the ones that I'm getting from all sorts of places, including restaurants that are somehow making connection to helping with COVID, like the trash bin that you spoke about. So I see that sort of dichotomy. Ones that are really stretching it and ones that are really trying to help, but really this has become an opportunity to speak to their value proposition and the benefit they can bring to help people better cope with what's happening.
Nice. Any particular one? I mean, I guess the question to both of you. I mean, what would you say to someone who, if you had the opportunity, who kind of in your mind stretched it a little bit too far? Like, what would you tell them how would you deliver that message to them to say, hey, like guys, like really?
Yeah, I think I would probably be pretty straight up. I think that if it came up in conversation, I would hope that if I did something that crossed a line, sometimes we get so focused on the tree in front of us that we sort of miss the forest around us, and sometimes we're so inside our own stuff that we just don't recognize that. And I would certainly hope, and I know that if somebody thought that I had crossed a line, there would be plenty of people who would come forward and say, hey, Brian, did you really think about that? And I would hope that I would want to do that for others as well.
John, what do you think?
Especially if it's a turnoff.
Yeah, the way we approach it is that I run it through Colin, and Colin's my filter. I probably would cross the line way too much, but everyone knows that Colin is much nicer and much more PC than I am. So if you have a Colin in your, or you need one, right? Yes, a filter that helps, check you when you've gone too far. But I mean, when it happens, I mean, I think you go direct with them and say, this is what's happened. It's hard though, right? Because, I know I've talked to some other people who have bosses that have come from other industries that don't understand that, that might be offensive in a healthcare setting, whereas in a different, industry that might make sense and that might be something that's okay. But I mean, I think the key is having someone with industry knowledge just check you and I mean, just being direct in any communication.
Sorry, Shram, how about you?
I actually had an opportunity with another startup who happens to be founded by a friend of mine. Just 3 days ago, I had a video meeting where they had something they wanted to show me. And to me, it was truly, even though I'm not coming from a healthcare background, I'm a university professor in engineering who has just found himself in healthcare. When I saw that, we lost John, I think. It was clear to me that this is going to come out as something sensitive or offensive to people that are fighting in the front lines, dealing with what they're dealing with. So for me, my approach was to just provide that angle. That a lot of times when you're talking to these people, it's not that they intend to be offensive or they're being malicious, really taking advantage. It's that sometimes they don't have that angle. So just, you know, interpreting data, interpreting a particular view they have, that it could be construed this way, it could be thought this way. There's some level of equivocation here that, you know, is not working for you. A lot of times that really gives them the next step in terms of whether or not, you know, they can pull it off.
Nice. Great. Hey, well, listen, guys, appreciate your time on air today. We're going to try to get to a few more callers. I finally
Yeah,
am
do it.
able to say that.
Good to
I've
see
always
you,
wanted to
Colin.
be like, yeah, good to see you, Brian. Thanks for being
Colin,
here.
can I ask a question? Can I ask
Yeah,
a
go
question
ahead.
before I go? You can get to it whenever you can get to it. But, you know, people like myself, we don't have Colin or John at the moment to run things by. Are there ways of getting this sort of, you know, healthcare viewpoints? If you have a particular marketing campaign or strategy that you could sort of get opinion on without breaking the bank. If you have any, you know, tips on this, please share at some point.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
we'll address that in the next few callers. How about that?
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Brittany, who we've got coming up next?
Thanks, guys. So next we have Elena.
All right.
Elena Lampier coming on, as well as we're going to bring on Dennis Daly.
All right. Hey, Elena, how are you?
Hey, Colin, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Look at that. You've got quite the background there with the champions thing happening.
It's a great screen blocking out my kitchen.
I like it.
We have an open floor plan.
Very ingenious of you. I like it. And is that a giant cassette tape I see in the background? That's cool.
It is a mixtape.
That is very good. Thank you. Thank you for the plug. That's a mixtape.
Yes.
That's funny. That's great. Well, good to see you. Thank you for being on the show. I know at some point Dennis will join us too.
Oh, hey guys, I'm here.
Okay,
Hey,
hey, you want to activate your camera?
Here, let's see, share my webcam. I came to Florida for HIMSS, and the condo I'm staying in was under construction when I got here, and so I've been stuck here. I can't return back to Kentucky. I don't want to carry the disease to my mom and her sister, so I'm living in a condominium that's under construction for the last month.
Oh wow.
So
That's
don't worry about the background.
You went to HIMSS and stayed. That's quite an interesting story. So well, Elena, let's start with you. So just quick introduction and what company are you with? And
Hi all. So my name's Elena Lampier. I am in Kansas City, Kansas. I just moved to the Kansas side. I am with Access Marketing Company. I am their strategic marketing consultant in the healthcare IT, and IT verticals. So 10 plus years in healthcare marketing, healthcare tech, those kinds of things.
great.
Been around.
Awesome. And Dennis, you're coming out to us from Florida, obviously, normally from Kentucky, but where are you at?
So I'm the publisher of Mobile Health Times and fellow journalist. It's been a really interesting time for us in journalism because the news is coming so fast, and all the things that you're saying about healthcare information technology marketing is also happening with the press releases that I'm seeing from all these folks wanting us to, you know, tout their whatever solution as a solution to COVID. You know, I've got an interesting question I wanted to ask and maybe get some answers on. You know, as we led up into this time, we had a lot of very sizable movement about getting the patient to the table. You know, the patient experience. We've heard people complain. We've heard people tell positive things. And I've had some time to talk to ePatient Dave and Jen Horn, Jeff, and some of the others. And I'm producing a video about that. But it's kind of interesting now because, you know, you can't really say anything that slams healthcare workers. It would be bad taste, right? I mean, they're the heroes. They're our frontline fighters in this war. So I don't know. I wonder if you guys have had any, you know, have they had any backlash, and what have you guys seen along those lines?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I would say that you're right. At this point, disparaging anybody in healthcare, good reasons or not, you know, it's probably not the best time to bring those up. You know, especially when the focus is on saving lives as opposed to maybe focusing a lot of attention on patient experience. But I think there's still certain basic rights that patients have that they should advocate for. I mean, There are some cases that we've heard of where the protocols regarding who gets a ventilator and who hasn't, may be a little bit too draconian. And there it's no longer about a patient experience, it's about a patient right. And so I think in those cases, you should, rightfully so, stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, I'm not for this. I need, this is what I stand for. This is what I'm expecting. So I think so in those cases, I think it is valid. But if you're complaining, let's say, about the lack of internet, I think that's maybe not the right time to bring that up right now.
Right. And talking about them not having empathy and wanting to humanize the experience is definitely not PC right now, right? So
yeah, unfortunately, I just think it's falling a little bit. Alina, what do you think?
I was going to say, based on the product that you're with, right now we are in a time of healthcare consumerism, and kind of switching it from the negative positive to the idea of this is a great time to make that impact on the patient, positive or negative. I came from a company previously, worked with them, who dealt with a lot of medical records, a lot of the incoming staff filing, those kinds of things. What happened with there is you have your part-time people. Those part-time people or those lower end people don't want to be there, ideally. So where it can be is an internal staff teaching moment to the idea that, great, this is awesome. Let's go ahead and you can either eliminate it. If you're a business that can help eliminate it, reduce the risk, reduce that items. Keep those people that are actually wanting to be there, that want to be patient focused, that want to have the engagement, that are there to be in the medical field, not to just have an hourly job to pay the bills.
Right.
There are alternatives, and that's a great way for you to make a positive patient engagement impact and switch your marketing focus without sitting there and saying these people are evil and awful.
That's an interesting one. So let's go back to the topic at hand. Like Alina, what have you seen in the last little bit that's kind of really been positive or negative for you in terms of ads or emails or things like that that's crossed your desk?
So if you're a marketer, which a lot of people on here are, monitor your paid ads that you have going out in your paid social. Change Healthcare, I'm going to throw them under the bus right now. Sorry if you're on the phone. I don't know if anybody's else been getting this ad for HIMSS, is the empty flight seats and saying HIMSS is in the past, look forward, this kind of stuff. Well, HIMSS didn't happen this year. So you should have taken this down a month ago. Empty flight seats is a great thing to have right now, let me tell you. So there's a whole lot of things that are just completely missing the mark in the market, and they're paying for it. It's a sponsored ad. And for me, I don't see how that's getting the engagement, and it's completely blind to the market.
Right. No, I haven't seen that ad. That sounds like a pretty bad one, though.
Yeah.
Empty plane, post HIMSS, which didn't happen. Yes, that's that's a not so good example. That's not a good example.
And if I see it, I'll send it to you again.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I've gotten it probably 3 times a week.
And Dennis, you're saying that you've seen a lot of PRs that kind of mirrors those ads that Brian was talking about in terms of people are making claims that suddenly their solution has some COVID angle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see all that in the press releases coming every day, and it's been actually a challenge to keep up with the news. There have been a lot of I've been keeping in touch with Kentucky, watching the Kentucky news on my television here, and there's just so much great work that people are doing, and I'm just moved by the patriotism and the togetherness that people are showing throughout the country, and way people are just really giving in to this whole effort. I mean, as far as marketing goes, I mean, I've been learning some new tools myself and brushing up on my skills and actually trying to develop some new revenue streams. And I think this is the right time to do that. And I'm able to still produce some videos. So it's working out. And I want to applaud what you're doing here. I'm sorry I didn't get on last week, but I will get on from now on. And I really applaud what you're doing here. It's a great job, Colin.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, no, it's thank you. Thank you. We were trying to engage. I mean, this whole idea of this Call-in program was just to try and get the community together because we couldn't get together in person. So this is kind of like our attempt at it. And yeah, it's kind of a fun format. It's a little different than just a tweet chat or something. So thank you. Thank you for that, Dennis.
I'm looking
forward to HITMC. I mean, I wish I could actually have gone because I have a new thing to launch there. And so maybe in a future one of these, I could help to pay a little sponsorship or something and get a little commercial on here myself.
We'll talk about that for sure. Elena, what were you saying?
I was going to piggyback off of Dennis's on the idea, and that is a great way for marketers and for us to go, is looking at the idea of the community. and taking this negative from a positive. Instead of focusing on coronavirus, there are just different spins. Look at the community, celebrate the community. And those are the ads that I've really seen. I think the logo thing is great, but also those that are celebrating each other, celebrating the community. I've been in talks with a couple of EHR companies who are looking to do some pretty interesting potential items. I use Health IT Scene a lot in the example of the supporting a small business with it. It's that idea of that community, and right now we all have to come together as one. So instead of marketing competing each other, how can we all work together?
I like it.
You know, I saw one really great ad this morning. I don't know if you guys, maybe it's been around for a while longer, but is that me? I'm sorry. The Facebook ad. The Facebook ad that's showing how the importance of faces and how people love faces. Have you seen this? It was really moving. I was actually really touched by it.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, I'll have to look that one up. I haven't seen it yet.
And as far as marketers goes, I guess you guys are seeing this. Yeah, as far as marketers go, yeah, it's how much a face means to someone, you know, to be able to see a face. But as far as Facebook goes and as marketers, I'd love to hear some comment on pricing. I mean, you know, their usership is up like 70% and their ad rates are down like 40%. So it's really a kind of a prime buying time if we could find what it is we'd want to buy and put on there at that time onto Facebook.
Yeah, there's certainly opportunities, right? I mean, right now there's a lot of people giving discounts and not a lot of usage. I mean, we definitely think, you know, we've definitely seen that in other, not just the ad industry, but other industries as well. It's just all you have to do is look at the ad rates for some of the publications in the print. I mean, they're really far down in terms, and you can get a great deal on them. So yeah, it is a good time to look if you have a message that will resonate or that you think can work. At this time, it's a great time to take advantage of it if you've got the marketing budget to do it, which is why I think a lot of the ads that certainly I've been impressed with, like the Ford credit ad and some of these Ford Motor Company credit ad, how they're just, it's all just text. It's just some, you know, light, you know, relaxing music, you know, and other people are putting out ads on TV that are just like, hey, this is a moment of Zen. Like there's only like 15 seconds of a beach scene and like the words flash up at the bottom, right? Like it works, right? And you know, people remember it. So there's definitely some opportunity if you get creative, and there's definitely some deals to be had if you kind of search hard enough.
Yeah, I think it's all about pivoting your messaging, pivoting your ideas. That whole great spreadsheet campaign that we've made at the beginning of the year, taking a look at it and throwing it out the window and burning it and thinking what works now.
I love that. I love that. Those spreadsheets are now toast, right? Like whatever we came up with in the beginning of the year is now like no longer valid.
It isn't. Just go out there. This is the time to take risks and have fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Hey, listen, thank you both of you for joining us on the Call-in program today. Hopefully you'll come back next week and yeah, stick on and we'll see who comes on next.
All right, thank you.
Definitely see you next week.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thank you, Colin.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Elena.
All right. All right, Brittany, who we got next?
We're going to jump to Ashley. Going to put her on the spot to come on out. And Barbie had a question about what we're doing in lieu of HITMC in person. So she asked that question in the chat, but I thought she could ask it live and we could have a little discussion about that.
All right, bring Ashley and our Barbie on. Sounds great.
Hi.
Hey, Barbie, how are you?
My video to go. Hi.
How are you? Good to see you.
Yes, I am okay. I've had a lot of health challenges this year, or pretty much it started last year, but I'm still having them. So I'm kind of lumping the whole year together, and maybe this is leap year, so I'm just hoping to leap over the whole year and get into goodness. But
I totally hear you on that, and yes, it is so good to see you because I know some of the challenges you've had this year. So thank you for being here and thank you for being on, and so good. And where are you coming to us from, Barbie?
I'm coming to you from Santan Valley, Arizona, a tiny little town about 50 miles southeast of Phoenix. And I had planned on going up for the HITMC conference, or at least like a day or some part of it. And then all of a sudden everything, April was gonna be my first month back to starting to do in-person events, and then everything gets canceled. April got canceled, May got canceled, June's getting canceled. So I'm wondering what you guys are doing, what the changes are gonna be, and how can we still stay involved, and what can we look forward to in the future?
That's a good one. And so I'll get to that. I'll answer that question, but let's introduce our other caller. Ashley, welcome to the program.
Hi, Colin. Hi, Barbie. Hi, everyone.
It's so awesome. Ashley, give us the lowdown. Where are you coming to us from, and who are you with?
Sure. So my name is Ashley Dower. I work for Carium, and Carium is a company based out of Petaluma, California. And I'm from Rhode Island. So checking in here live from Rhode Island, from home. I always work from home, but I'm excited to be on the air with you guys today, talking about some of these ads that are out there now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. So I'll answer Barbie's question first, and then we'll get around to what the ads and things you've seen. But so good question, Barbie, in terms of what are we doing now that the HITMC in-person conference has been delayed a little bit because of COVID-19. So we have a virtual one that we're running actually on the same days that the original in-person one is happening. So we're doing in the afternoon of the 12th and the 13th of May, we're doing 5 sessions each day, including one of those sessions being a unconference, which is going to be kind of unique to try and do virtually. But we're running those from 12 to 5 p.m. on the 12th and the 13th. And if you go to the HITMC conference site, you'll see a place where you can go and register and RSVP for the sessions you want. So we're doing that piece of it. And then we're also doing kind of things like this, where we're trying to just engage the community online, sort of to carry us over until the time we can have the in-person meeting, which we will have at some point this year. We're just waiting on the hotels and things to free up and give us some dates. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing. And then of course we have our newsletter and other things on Twitter as well. And yeah, and we've got John hopping back on. But yeah, we're trying to do our best. And I know even Ashley, it's funny that she's on too. I mean, Ashley has done a lot of stuff, as has Sarah, around just trying to get the community to stay in contact with one another through like the dance party and some other things that you've done, right? Ashley, you want?
Yeah, it's been fun. I think that we were all so excited to see each other going into hymns. And not only did hymns kind of not happen, but then from there was so much chaos after that I think it's been so nice to still be able to come together, even if it is virtually. And it's funny because sometimes we go into our like HITMC meetup chats that we're having on Fridays, expecting it to be a dance party, but we end up just talking about some of the most random topics. But it's nice to be able to, like, we'll talk a little bit about work and then just about families and how people have adapted. And it's been interesting to see how that's evolved, and to be able to connect with the community and still feel like we're getting to know each other. And other ideas I think have bounced out of that too. So that's been fun.
Cool. John, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. I was gonna get, I wanted to hop on Barbie's question around, when do you think conferences will start coming back? I was even looking at the ANI, I guess it was formerly called ANI, the HFMA annual conference. It's at the end of June, beginning of July, so that's an indicator for me, is kind of watching that one, because that one feels like it's on the edge. It's a bunch of hospital CFOs that probably need to go to a conference to share, war stories, to find loans and funding and all sorts of things like that. So anyway, if you're looking for an indicator, I'm watching that conference to see, does it make it? Because it feels like that's right on the edge of, will it happen or not? And if it happens, that might crack everything open to being able to do all the rest of the conferences. So anyway, just an insight there. I don't know what other people are looking for. Maybe you could share on Twitter with the hashtag HITMC, and when you think conferences will start happening again and people will start being able to travel to them. I'd be interested to hear other people's predictions.
You're so right, John. We do a annual pain conference and in November, and we're looking at other conferences going, okay, is this going to be is this going to be in the, thanks. Sorry, is this going to be okay for our conference? Do we still keep going forward? And we have like 2 different committees almost that are, one's looking at only in-person, or the in-person and online conference, and one is just online, and how does that transfer over, and what are we going to do? And we have we're going two different directions and not sure which way we're going to go. And we're waiting to see, are any of the other larger conferences going to jump in and do something? And then we also heard from scientists that we work with that July, August, September are going to be really good, but then coming October, November, December, that we might see a second wave, but really it would be like the, I don't know, 7th or 8th wave of COVID come through again, and that it's going to be a disruptor. So we need to, even if it looks good in July, to keep going with the conference in person. The scientists are telling us, and the researchers are telling us that COVID's not going to be taken care of by then. So we really don't know what to do. We're looking to other industry leaders to see and make a decision.
Yeah, I definitely think it's tough. I don't think any of us can predict when the conference season will start up again, right? Not only because we might, the lockdown could end, but then will people even want to travel, right? Even if it does, even if the skies open up and the hotels open up, I wonder how many people would just be like, you know what, I'm not going to take the chance. I'm just, it's great that we show up in person, but I really don't want to be around 5,000 of my peers right now, right? Like I do wonder about that. So I'm hoping that we do open back up in the fall, but you're right. By that time, it's sort of flu season again, right? And hopefully we don't have as much of a second wave or whatever, 7th wave that we do right now, but it's possible. So yeah, I'm just hoping it doesn't wipe out the season. That would be, I don't know, that'd be so really, really bad.
I think it's the thing that might be different in the second wave, and this is the other thing we should probably be watching is will the treatments come around so that, hey, if you do get it, you can go and be treated and it's not as fatal as it seems right now, right? And will the antibody testings come along so that we can understand more about that, right? So there's, I think if we look to the fall, there could be a second wave, but could it be a second wave that has the impact of flu, right? Where it doesn't really impact the flow, it impacts very specific individuals who get sick and they can't participate in whatever. So I'm watching that to see if that's going to enable us to go back to the conferences and other things like that in that way. But 100%, Barbie, you're right. You have to, I think, have a virtual and an in-person strategy going forward so that people can do either option, whether it's for their health, whether it's for the fear of travel, or whether it's because their company won't let them travel, or whatever it might be, their family situation. But that said, I think we're also, I think all of us would hop on a plane right now and go to a place if we knew it was safe, we would all hop on a plane and have a HITMC meetup right now. So we're all yearning for that, as soon as it's safe and we feel comfortable.
Awesome. Ashley, let's get to it sounds like you had an example of an ad or something that you're really, were a good one or a bad one. What was that?
Yeah, so it's not specifically a healthcare ad. It's actually far from a healthcare ad, but it was a Budweiser ad. I don't know if any of you have seen this one, but it talked about, it said like, we're all one team, but it really goes into like, it's more like, it's emotional and it shows really like the rawness of what we're going through. And it shows the people working in the hospitals and all of the essential workers, just clips of that. And then it goes on to say like, this season, we're all one team. And it talks more to the community. It's focused more on that and not pushing like, hey, go drink a Budweiser. But I think that ads like that are really, I think are working well now. I think something like that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you're just describing it. I'm getting emotional. I mean, like, I gotta go see this ad now. Like, it sounds
it's such
really
a good one. I'll send it to you.
No, but I think the smart companies are doing that. I think unfortunately as well, we'll probably get inundated with too many of them sooner or later. But I think the ones that got out early and had these messages were really smart. I know Subaru up here in Canada did one that was similar, right? And it was actually say. Their title was, it's a car commercial without a car, right? And they're just talking about frontline workers and thank you to these folks and those folks. And it was nice. It was just nice to see that on your TV for 15, 20 seconds as opposed to, a pitch for something. So, but yeah, this Budweiser ad sounds pretty awesome.
It was a good one.
They didn't need to
Um,
say go drink because there's enough pressures causing people to want a Budweiser already. Is that is that
Probably.
the thinking here?
True.
I think that's the one area, right, where the consumption has gone up, right? Business is going upwards in the alcohol world, unfortunately, as we're all stuck at home. Yeah, well, let's switch gears a little bit and just tackle maybe that question that Sharam asked. You know, if you don't have the marketing budget to do your own, you know, focus groups, or you don't even have a marketing team, you know, what could a company do to bounce ideas around in terms of a marketing campaign to make sure they don't make a mistake of like some of the ones that Brian talked about or I talked about? I know it's an obvious one, but I'll let everyone else chime in. Why don't we start with you, Ashley, in terms of what someone could do in that situation?
Sure. So I just think it's so important to pause everything that you're working on across the board. And I think Elena kind of mentioned this a little bit, but it's so important to just pause and take a step back and look at everything, that all of your plans through a new lens, and figure out what you should be doing and what should wait. And I think, especially, I think as marketers, it's really easy to like love a project that you're working on and to just want to push it out, and just like tweak it a little bit. But I think it's important to really take off put on that new lens and figure out exactly where you're going to go with it, and make sure that it is tasteful and that your messaging is on point, based on the audience that is now. But I think that that's one of the biggest recommendations I would have.
Cool. Barbie?
I agree. I would say don't rush into anything that's, you know, like an awareness week, an awareness month, buy my product now, unless it like directly relates to COVID and what's going on and your community. It's not something that you should be like necessarily pushing. We still need that information out there. I just wouldn't make it a primary focus for a campaign.
Gotcha. John?
Yeah, I mean, I think this community would be my answer for him. You know, that's the lowest budget way, is contributing to the community, helping other people, and then when you need help, you can receive it in return. So, you know, we have one of the core principles of the HITMC community is give before you get. So if you follow the HITMC hashtag, or even the HITSM hashtag, or HCLDR, or even the hashtag pink socks, you know, all of those people in the community, see what they're doing, you know, share their stuff, help where you can, and then when you need help, put it out there as well. Say, hey, we have this idea for a campaign, could I send it to you and just get your initial thoughts, right? I mean, there's hundreds in the community that would be happy to do that. And if you've given something to them, even just something as simple as retweeting their webinar, or retweeting their story, or interacting with them, they're gonna be like, oh, I've seen this person, they've helped me, of course, you know, I'm happy to give them some advice, right? And then from there you can go up, and you know, there's certainly freelancers, if you do have some budget, to expand beyond that, freelance agency people or former agency people that maybe just wanted more of a part-time role, or writers. There's a lot of writers. If you need people to write different content for you, you can hire those, and then you know, then you can move your way up to bigger agencies that can do more of the work for you as you grow and as your funding grows. So I guess those would be my three kind of layers as you scale up.
Awesome, Phil, thank you. And Ashley and Barbie, thank you so much for being on the air with us. We're gonna get the last couple of people on, and hopefully you stick around and listen to the rest of it, but really appreciate your time.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
So good to see your smiling faces.
Sure.
Okay, Brittany, who we got coming up next?
So next we have Sarah had her hand raised, so we're gonna get Sarah back on. And Charisse was here, but it looked like she has popped off. So I can put Beth Cooper on the spot and see if she can pop on and see what she has to say.
All right. Well, we'll get Sarah on, sure, and we'll see if Beth will join us. That's cool. I'll just echo what John said for Sharam, who's still listening. I definitely would use and look to the HITMC community, the one we have here, and look at the HITMC hashtag as John suggested, and then just add a couple, participate there, add a few comments there, and then you'll find some people who I think you would be more than happy if you reached out to them, who would be willing to give you some advice on your campaign. Just kind of a nice, you can send them something, a picture or whatever, and they would be more than happy to comment on that. So yeah, Sarah, nice to see you again.
Hey, Sarah.
Oh, can't hear Sarah. Are you hearing her, John?
Nope.
Okay. No.
Oh, she's. Try it now, Sarah.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yep,
now.
you're good. Sorry, you were muted.
Y'all trying to mute me?
No, we're not trying to mute you, Sarah. How are you?
Woo, that's a loaded
New one.
question.
Well, I'm gonna start with an easier one. Where are you coming to us from today, Sarah? And where do you work?
I'm in the beautiful metropolis of Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, and it is 96 degrees here right now. And my family's outside by the pool, and I'm not. So,
Okay. So
I
yeah,
work
FOMO.
for Stericycle. I work for Stericycle Communications Solutions, and we provide patient engagement through multiple channels to large healthcare systems and also medium multi-specialty practice clinics. I'm their director of marketing.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you for that overview. And Brittany, are we getting Beth to join us as well?
Yep, she should be. It looks like she's on. Beth, are you there?
Oh, yes, I am. One
Hey, Beth.
second. My husband is power washing the porch, so I just have to tell him stop for a sec.
Oh, that's all right.
The new.
There you go.
No worries. Join in when you're ready.
Join in when you're ready. So Sarah, what have you seen an ad or seen an email that's really kind of stood out for you for either a good or a bad reason?
I think I have an example of both, really. Not on the healthcare side. I haven't really been looking at healthcare ads. I've been kind of heads down doing our own thing right now. We have a webinar next week, so it's just everyone that plans webinars knows that's a big lift. But I've seen a lot of retail just totally mess this up. Some have done it great and said, like, here are a selection of stretchy pants we're recommending for you because they get that we're not wearing suits. But I've seen some people say, like, prepare for spring break or your next vacation. Here are some vacation wear. And it actually makes me angry because I can't do that right now. And I think as a marketer, you see that stuff and you start looking at your own, wait a minute, how is the other person? If you're not already doing that, you really should think about that. If something's irritating you, even if it's in a different industry, it's probably challenging your buyers. And especially in healthcare, I mean, we have our own restrictions because we can't see our friends. I miss my mom. I miss my health IT crew. I miss just going and sitting on the patio at a restaurant because it's 95 degrees outside and having a margarita. But the people we're marketing to are on the front lines, and they're having much bigger challenges than most of us will ever know. And so I think that's a really good lesson. When you see something that rubs you the wrong way, apply it to your own marketing and make sure that just something as simple as a few words or the way something's positioned can really change. Something I've seen really well, I think I have a different perspective on things than a lot of people. My husband and I got in a discussion about what really is an essential business. I was like, why is the liquor store open, but my dentist isn't? Like, that bothers me. But, Orlando Health, a really great organization, posted something on LinkedIn, I think it was yesterday, and they were talking about medically necessary versus everyone calling them elective procedures. And they just had a really good post about be really careful when you just knock all elective procedures, because something that is elective could be medically necessary for somebody's quality of life or for them to get to the next step of their program treatment. And I just think it was a really, really great way for them to come out and say, we're all in this together, but there's certain things there's certain parts of life that can't just shut down because there's a virus out here. There are people that still need to have procedures. There are people that still need to navigate the healthcare system. And so I thought that was just a really powerful message, for just a reminder of be really careful before you shoot somebody down about whether it's elective or medically necessary. The doctors should be making those decisions and not people on social media. Those are just two examples that I can think of. I wasn't really prepared. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Those are great examples. What are you talking about? That's awesome.
Colin, can I answer? So, Sarah, it's interesting you said that, just some interesting insight on the alcohol store one, which, obviously I'm the teetotaler in the room, or I guess virtual room, but so they're definitely not necessary for me. But interestingly enough, our friend Mel Smith Jones, I think a lot of you guys know, I think she actually is married now. She may have a new last name, but as we know her, Melody Smith, she said that when she was homeless, which she grew up homeless, unfortunately, she said the place she would go to get food was the alcohol store. So it was just one of those interesting insights that it's like I don't have that perspective, and so she was able to provide that to me, that like, hey, the only place she could go shopping, because it was in her area, in her homeless situation, was to shop for groceries at the liquor store. So anyway, I mean, I think that it highlights just how challenging the environment is, that what we think is medically necessary, as you talked about, right, or not, maybe different for someone else in a different position. So that's why it's great to have a community of people to bounce it off, that maybe understand that and better than we do, right? But you're right, I think there are a lot of them. Do I need to build a whole deck on the back of my house and go to Home Depot? I don't know if that's necessary, but maybe for mental health, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would like to point out that in Texas, there's no food in the liquor store. We are not like California and some other places. A liquor store is just that. It's just liquor. But I do get that point that, maybe I think there might be limes, for your margaritas or something, but
yeah, you need the limes. You need the limes. Beth, welcome back to the program. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks. It was my first excuse to put on lipstick in days, so.
Nice.
I was gonna say, you got this 70s look. I like it. So.
Oh, thanks. I didn't have time to wash my hair. I mean,
well,
yeah.
I mean, this is gonna be fun. I mean, speaking of that, this is gonna be fun. What it's gonna be like in another 3 or 4 weeks, because none of us can go get our haircuts. So we're just gonna
Right.
we're gonna do some very interesting hairstyles in the next few weeks, right?
In the same boat, Sarah.
Gonna be Sarah be pro the brunette.
I think we're all just gonna have to be more forgiving. Maybe that's a good take out of this, right?
Yeah.
More understanding.
That's for sure. Beth, is there an ad or anything that stood out for you, or do you want to comment on what Sarah said?
No, I love everything Sarah said. I think we all need to just really give people the benefit of the doubt. You guys know that I take pictures, and every time I post a picture from the archives, I'll get a flurry of messages that say, you shouldn't be out. Why are you doing this? And it's like, guys, it's taken a while ago. Like, let's not jump down each other's throats, like right off the bat. So I think that was a really good point. Just like in general, we should all just be really kind to each other online. I haven't seen too many ads that really missed the mark. I read your retrospective, Colin, and I thought that was really good. And I liked, a couple of different points that you made on that. But no, the main thing I was going to kind of bring up to you guys today, I don't know if this is a change of topic, was just basically getting some ideas about how you guys were staying like as creative as possible without the in-person brainstorming. I don't know if that's a topic that anybody wanted to comment on, because we're all talking about making these new campaigns, and we're in the same boat. And we used to gather into a white room, and I have a brainstorming kit with like slime and Play-Doh and markers and all that. And right now it's much more asynchronous, and it's been interesting.
Oh, that's first of all, I'm totally jealous, because when we get creative, I think it just means that John and I are wearing different T-shirts that day. That's how we get creative. But no,
we just got dressed.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's an interesting question, though. Let's tackle that a little bit. And Sarah, do you have any ideas or anything around like how your team being creative in this time of being distant?
Well, I think it has to be relevant to the situation you're in. I mean, businesses still have to run and operate. We're getting ready to launch a couple of products. One is actually went to production today, and then one in June. And so my team's responsible for building a demo environment for that group. And in looking at the demos, I decided I want everything to match across all of the solution set. Like that's my new thing to them. So, you know, they're getting to go in there and create a bunch of things for like fake hospitals and stuff for the demo environment. And it was a nice way for them to not think about writing content, not think about COVID. It's something that's a little bit different. They're playing with colors. They're pulling, you know, doctor profile pictures for scheduling. And, you know, we had a fun, we call it like a demo task force. So I was like, if you're on this email, you're invited to the demo task force. Our operations are very important. You know, you've got to make it a little bit fun, but I think it depends on the environment you're in. But I mean, I can't even imagine being in the sales world right now. But we all support sales and they still have a job to do. So there are some parts that are not going to be as able to be creative, but I think anything we create as marketers, we can bring our creativity to it. One thing I'm loving about this time is I'm having more opportunity to collaborate with friends from HITMC than I ever have before. Like talking to Ashley and Lygia and saying, hey, you know what, there's like, we should do something together. We are all virtual now. Let's talk about this. Or pulling in our partners. We have strategic partners. And I said, guys, let's do a webinar together. We haven't done anything like this. We put out press releases, but right now that's going to be overlooked. Let's turn on our cameras. Let's talk to people. Let's be real about what's going on and transparent. And I just think that collaborative nature about what we're allowed to do or what we have, I don't want to say have time to do right now because who has time, but I love seeing the cross collaboration between groups, between friends, people just texting me saying, hey, can you get on a FaceTime real quick? I just want to run something by you. I have never seen this much collaboration between this group before, and I love it.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's awesome that you guys are doing that. That's really encouraging.
Yeah, I agree, Sarah. There has been like this spirit of collaboration more so than ever. I think we all feel like we're all in this together. So it's gotten, yeah, even less competitive and more collaborative. I think that's a good insight.
You know, Beth, we learn from you in terms of creativity and stuff because whenever you're at the Taste of HITMC events, you're always bringing Lego and other little things and those magnets and stuff like that. So, but one of the things I've heard that some people have done is they've to kick off to get those creative juices flowing is they play virtual Pictionary. So
that's interesting. I love that.
So just because you can't do it in person, Pictionary is one of those games that actually works really well over the virtual, right? So
right.
either they draw it on a mutual whiteboard, right? And then everyone tries to guess, or I guess people have like they draw it and hold it up to the camera or whatever. But I've heard that has been pretty effective, at least get people, you know, into the mood again of collaborating. But yeah, it is a challenge because when you're in the room, you can feed off each other in terms of ideas, and when you're virtual, it's harder.
Well, the only other thing I would say is as we're coming up with these new marketing programs, we are kind of doing this thing where we're very dual pronged, where we know we almost have to mention COVID right now, just in order to be relevant. And the other part of it is you do still have to think long term. So I know we were talking about like when our conference is coming back, like when do you think we can stop mentioning anything to do with, you know, the virus?
That's a good one. So personally, I'll just give you my personal opinion and I'll let everyone chime in. So my personal opinion, honestly, is when CNN and ABC, CBS News, when their attention now turns to the recovery. I think at that moment, that's the moment where, okay, it's the virus is now in the background. I mean, it'll always still be there, and a lot of the recovery will be because of the virus. But as soon as that switch flips, or as soon as that narrative flips on the TV and on news media, I think at that moment, everyone will want to talk about, okay, let's talk about the recovery, let's talk about the economy. And at that moment, we will take our eye off the PPE problems, you know, the all those things, because people will be so excited to finally be let out. And I think at that moment, that's the moment you have to be ready for. I don't know when it's going to happen, but you can start to see some signs of it now, right? Because now we're starting to talk a little bit more about the stimulus, right? That's starting to be a little bit more covered now, as opposed to, you know, all the frontline stories, right? Where that was just dominating the news. Now we're starting to talk a little bit about the economics and the long-term implications for the airline industry and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Good points.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm sorry to cut this off, but it's such an interesting conversation. This is such a good show, and I hope all of you who are listening online will join next week, or sorry, 2 weeks from now, for our next one. But thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Beth, for being on the air with us. Thank you to all of you who actually were on the air with us this week. It was a lot of fun. And again, hopefully you join us in a couple weeks. In the meantime, please make sure you follow the conversation on hashtag HITMC or HITMC. Or go to hitmic.com and you can read all our articles and check out the stories there. So thank you to the community, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, Colin.
Yes. Thank you.